I've tried solo runs for every party member except one. So today, let's see if we can beat Deltarune using only Susie. Since we can't even control Susie for the majority of Chapter 1, I thought this would be the most interesting solo run of them all. And right I was, because after destroying Lancer, Susie ditched Kris. And although we can skip a lot of encounters in this game, we do have a mandatory fight with the assist squad. This was the quickest loss of all of the solo runs. But hey, at least I wasn't due to K-Rounds. I know it's not even been a minute, but don't click off just yet. I promise it'll be worth it. I still couldn't beat Karen with just Susie, and you're probably thinking, wait, you just skipped the entirety of the field and great board. Well, yeah, of course I did. Do you really want to sit through Susie control herself and Susie hit strong? Didn't think so. That's the issue with all of these challenges. Chapter 1 is just kinda bland in contrast to Chapter 2. So most of the time it's just, we beat enemy, then we do it again right before fighting Tall Checker Piece, and then we beat even more enemies. Chapter 1 really only starts after we get the ability to control Susie. And by that point, there's only like 10 minutes of the chapter left. Thankfully, Chapter 3 and 4 should be releasing soon-ish. In the meantime, let's skip through the forest of complete nothingness, ignore the one battle I failed to skip, and meet back up with my favorite character. Not you. You're not even in the top 5. Since we're technically playing as Susie, I decided to let her win this battle. If only it was that simple. But since this isn't a modern Pokemon game, we do have to win to progress the game. Now we have access to control Susie in battle, so finally this actually gets entertaining. I immediately went down to fight Jubble, and I might have been a little too hasty because I forgot to bring literally any healing items, and I lost the first attempt. I could have gone back to get healing, but I wanted to prove myself, so I went right back in with absolutely nothing. Luckily we have Kris and Ralsei to block damage, and before I say, can't you just edit your party and remove them entirely? No! I actually can't, because if I fight a boss with an edited party, the game crashes. It takes a long time to deplete Jubble's health stat with just one person, but I really enjoyed the length of this battle. I fought him enough times where I'd say I'm pretty good at dodging the attacks, some would say otherwise, and with one final rude buster, Jubble was taken down, giving me the Devil's Knife. This overpowered weapon was essential when it came to King. Yeah, you can just wait out the fight and beat him that way, but I wanted to overthrow him and crown Susie as the new King, Queen... forget it. I'm not sure exactly how many turns it takes to end the battle, and I was always feeling like there's no chance I could bring his health to 0 before the final round. But with the Devil's Knife's special ability of lowering Root Buster's cost by 10 TP, I actually somehow beat him in time. With Chapter 1 behind us, we can move into the Cyber World, where Susie does the exact same thing she did in the Card Kingdom. But stay with me, because after we meet the Sweet Cap and Cakes, Susie gets a new ability, and that ability is to make Kris completely useless. Sure, Susie and Ralsei's acts are weaker than Kris's, but this is like, oh, you want to be unique? Well, too bad. Learning how to act on her own, Susie changed her style of fighting from, well, fighting, to using her new power and actually recruiting things. This doesn't change a whole lot, but man did it make a certain boss challenging. I made my way up the teacups that are floating in the sky until I reached the top and encountered Burgley. To show everyone just how smart and competent he is, he challenged Susie to a one-on-one, and he didn't even stand a chance. Now that we're in the city, Susie leaves her party once again. So fast forward through the entire area and boom, we're in the mansion! My first task was to travel down to the basement and deliver this suspicious item to this even more suspicious salesman. I'm sure nothing bad can come out of this. After returning the item back where I found it, Spam Tenio appeared out of nowhere and almost killed Kris if it wasn't for Susie rushing in to save them. I'm not very good at this boss, and I had very limited healing items, on top of only doing 2% mercy each turn, so it'll take roughly 50 turns to make it out alive. But if Kris and Ralsei are both downed, we can double the mercy we do each turn. The only problem being that now any damage I take will be going straight to Susie. This was undoubtedly the longest battle in the entire run, but I wasn't bothered by it. Actually, this was the most fun I've had in this game since its launch. I went through all of my healing items, and this was the first time I was genuinely starting to get nervous. Sure, I felt nervous in other challenges, but nothing can compare to this. I still had a few turns to go, and it was likely I'd die and have to start from the beginning, but after he did his ultimate attack for the second time, which I didn't even know he could do, the last string was cut, leaving me the victor. Now it was time to go through the mansion, instantly break the pottery, and spare Task Manager, and one one turn. I know it would have been cooler if I did the fight normally, but I'm used to doing this every time, so that's on me. After recruiting the mouse wheel, Susie left the party yet again. You know the drill at this point. We're skipping through the most boring section of the game till she falls from the sky. When I was fighting the wire, I did not expect Susie's act to be so good. Normally, for mini bosses like this, she only does 5%, but here she does 12%, recruiting the beast in just 10 turns. The final battle was against Queen, where our goal was to free Birdly from her control. This boss was a nightmare for Ralsei, since in that run, I disallowed the use of fighting, so the acid shields she makes took forever to get rid of. But in this run, we can just use Rude Buster to take him down in just 2 turns. I was already down a third of my health going into this, and I didn't bother getting new items after Spamton, but I didn't need them as she barely targeted Susie. Believe it or not, it is not hard to beat a boss if she doesn't attack you. But who cares, because this run ended in the first 5 minutes.